From the beginning of time, humans have always looked towards the sky for inspiration and guidance. There has been a fascination with birds, stars, gods, goddesses, and other entities which seem to exist above us, and for many humans, a strong yearning to travel into space. Man has dreamt of flight since observing space, and now it is time to become the space traveller. The future of space travel requires us to understand from where we came, to see where we are going.
Several thousand years ago, philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban from China were looking to the wind for flight. They invented kites using silk and bamboo, allowing for the later development of communication, measuring distances, testing the wind, and lifting men.
The invention of the kite brought with it the desire to fly. The first known attempts at flight were typically by leaping off towers, known as tower jumping. People in China, India, and Europe first attempted flight this way.
In 1670, Francesco Lana de Tarzi published a book that showed some interesting concepts. The concept of copper foil in a sphere with a vacuum would produce a vacuum airship. This is still not possible with today's materials. Francesco is recognized as the father of aeronautics, melding science and mathematics into aerial navigation.
The Chinese are believed to have developed the first hot air device. The Chinese lantern, using hot air from a candle, can take flight and was first used for signalling. The hot air balloon achieved the first human lift and advanced to what we know of as the Zeppelin.
The first attempts at flight in a heavier-than-air flying machine were made by more than just the Wright brothers. Most attempts failed. However, they were the stepping stones for what was to come later. The oldest airport, College Park, is still in operation today.
Airplanes evolved rapidly through the century, from propeller to helicopter to jet aircraft, and most of that technology is used today.
During the Second World War, Germany developed rockets that could go a limited distance. The basic rocket technology used then is still used today. The space race started with the Soviet Union and the USA in 1957 and led to many developments for the next step, the moon.
The spacecraft assigned as Apollo 11 was the first spacecraft to have landed on the moon. The space shuttle operated at tremendous cost. Burning the fuel proved to be wasteful and dangerous technology. The International Space Station, ISS, is a habitable artificial satellite that was assembled in low Earth orbit in 1998 with the use of the space shuttle. The ISS can often be seen with the naked eye from Earth.
SpaceX, as a private aerospace producer and space transportation services company, was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. SpaceX reuses the first stage of their primary rocket, Falcon 9, by vertical propulsive landings. Although, up to present time, it still uses the rocket fuel burning technology. Mehran Keshe has always said, the time for burning fuels is over, but did we need to start with that technology in the first place?
Ancient cultures have suggested the use of an alternative means of transportation. With reference to possible plasma technology,
you can go to New York from Brussels within 2 to 5 minutes. And most of this 5 minutes is actually landing and getting up.
Mehran Tavakkoli Keshe was born in Iran in 1958. As the son of an X-ray engineer, he was introduced to the world of radiation and nuclear science at a very young age. In 1981, he graduated from Queen Mary, the University of London, as a nuclear engineer specialized in reactor technology system control. At that time, he developed a number of theoretical ideas related to more simple nuclear concepts and their applications. In 2002, he decided to finish the full design of his ideas about nuclear technology. This included the creation and control of gravity and energy by the use of nuclear materials in a clean and safe hydrogen reactor. Mehran Keshe introduced the concept of double magnetic fields to explain the magnetic and gravitational field of Earth.
Unknown by the existing scientific community, he wrote a number of scientific papers in 2004 and sent them for peer review, such as the creation of black holes. When one of the persons performing the peer review used his information in public, he decided to draw back his papers and to concentrate further on building prototypes.
Since the beginning of 2006, several prototypes of dynamic reactors have been built, some specifically designed to create hovering effects, similar to effects seen with magnetic levitation. Basic hovering effects have been achieved. 2007 brought the first flight test with radioactive material, in which the patents describe the process of the field interactions.
The main patent, Gravitational and Energy System, described the initial fundamental aspects of the plasma and uses. This was followed by the supplemental patent, Microplasma Reactors, where further uses and advancements were described. Mr. Keshe found himself in Iran in 2008 and was provided all the resources needed to create the first lift of a plasma reactor managed by the Iranian government. These special rotating gas reactors were used to control the plasma. To bring a deeper understanding, Mr. Keshe released the first book in 2009, The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, which contained many new concepts released to the public. This included the PMTIC plasma magnetic fields, initial fundamental plasma and plasma dilution technology used for space reactors. The plasma technology was further developed and it manifested in weight fluctuation in a controlled environment. 2010 introduced a new state of matter called GANS, an acronym for gas in nanosolid state. The GANS produces fields to be used in the operation of the spaceship. Advanced flight tests were performed in Iran with the guidance of Mr. Keshe and the newly designed systems.
Mr. Keshe tells us you can't bring all the doctors with you in space. Medical research advanced in 2010 and is still being explored daily all around the world. The Keshe Foundation has provided knowledge for dealing with many medical conditions in space.
A great example of plasma technology used for peaceful process is the capturing of the USA drone over Iran in December 2011. This drone was touted as one of the most advanced drones of its day, and was caught by Iran using plasma to disrupt the communications. Plasma absorbs fields, and the drone uses radio fields for piloting, a natural aspect of the plasma, a barrier of fields.
Book 2, The Structure of the Light, was released in 2011. This book brought forward the understanding of the structure of light as a cylindrical plasma where the light is in possession of all magnetic field strengths. Book 3, The Origin of the Universe, was published later in 2011. Mr. Keshe explained the further operation and interaction of different strengths of the same fields, which then leads to the creation of the universe. These 3 books bring forward a much deeper understanding of the plasma science that is applied worldwide by knowledge seekers and scientists in spaceship research and development.
There were 2 conferences to release the space technology to governments in 2012. The first international presentation in April, Keshe Foundation invited representatives of every country to the first presentation of the plasma technology. The second international presentation in September, Keshe Foundation invited the nations of the world through their ambassadors and their leaders to attend a gathering at the Keshe Foundation Center in Nenove, Belgium.
Space travel requires peace. The implementation of the plasma technology brings greater responsibility. In 2013, Mr. Keshe brought forward the World Peace Treaty. Signing of the peace treaty is a confirmation from yourself to your soul to act correctly in a peaceful manner.
In 2014, knowledge seekers came together from around the world to learn from Mr. Keshe, and many different experiments with reactors were performed, including improving the previously developed reactors to fit with the new knowledge, introduction of nano-coated reactors, multi-core GaN systems. The Spaceship Institute lab experiments were streamed live on the internet for all to see. SSI lab tests with reactors showed strong magnetic field pulses up to 129 Tesla and showed significant weight fluctuations. In December, an experiment was performed using reactors built by knowledge seekers from around the world. Italy, Germany, and Canada were involved in field communication tests. The tests showed that fields can interact with each other no matter the distance or time, resulting in instant communication.
In 2015, developments for space continued with different aspects of the plasma technology, such as in health, energy, and decontamination. In October of 2015, Mr. Keshe taught a popular week-long course called the Blueprint Teachings about how to build the MAGRAV power units. People from all over the world participated with building their own MAGRAV units and teaching others. With the demand of the Keshe Foundation products from all over the world, a new research center and manufacturing opened in Arizona, USA. Many developments of the technology happened in different parts of the world, and Keshe Foundation USA is no exception. John and the team started performing experiments using different sensing tools. These tools allowed the team to visualize the MAGRAV fields and to show others their interactions. With reactor formations showing positive results, partaking in the knowledge together is easier and more joyful than ever. The fun has just begun, says MT Keshe.
Mr. Keshe publicly teaches the space technology through the weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. Plasma enthusiasts from around the world participate in gathering the knowledge and putting the puzzle together in the space race. All people, irrespective of race, nation or religion, are invited to participate in the exchange of knowledge, thus assisting humanity to live within the ethos of the universe. It is recognized that international cooperation and peace is a prerequisite for mankind to journey into deep space. Individuals and nations are invited to come together in the spirit of collaboration and unity to enable peaceful application and the use of plasma technology for space travel, food, agriculture, energy, transportation, health, and more. We are excited to release the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Blueprint to humanity.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 236th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, August 9th, 2018. I'll be your host, Rick Crammond, today, and this is a production of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute through the Education and Public Training in English. And today, once again, we'll have Mr. Keshe as our special guest, as he's been in all of the 235 previous Knowledge Seekers workshops in the past years. And I'm sure once again, he will have an exciting lineup of information and teachings for us today. And I have a hint that perhaps the neutron will be part of today's teaching, as it has been in parts of the last half a dozen or so teachings. And we look forward to that. Mr. Keshe, are you ready to go with today's show?
I don't know yet. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, whenever you listen to these series of knowledge seekers from KFSSI, Spaceship Institute, or Keshe Foundation. It's nice to be back, to be able to share knowledge. It's nice to be able to understand more about the structure of work of the universe and be able somewhere down the line lay down what we call the cornerstones of the knowledge of the new era, where we open a space for us to see, but we understand the real basis of it. It's not going to be accumulated by collection of who guess what, but as it's been taught correctly from the base, the knowledge is gathered and put together and understood by totality. That brings a lot of changes. And in that process of the change, it brings a lot of confidence, a lot of peace, a lot of understanding that do we need to do so much hard work to reach where we want, or can we do with little but achieve a lot? And with it, create condition of what we call comfort for everyone. As we've seen, and as been part of our work at the moment, is what we have got ourselves are involved. I had a couple of things I have to mention. First of all, thank you very much for Universal Council for last week's presentation. It wasn't so easy, and you got to understand it's the second time they had a floor there that they could do, show, and encourage us to understand what it could be. And in the coming time, as more numbers of languages add to the structure, then we'll see the whole process in a different dimension and direction. It is interesting to see how the Universal Council presents their what we call annual reports next year. What they see as development, what they see they plan to be the objectives of the development. On the other hand, we go back to a lot of people like to know the situation in China. The spaceship testing is not going as smooth as we liked after the accident we had. There's a lot of disheartened, there's a lot of work to be done. But the good thing is we have managed and we see a pattern that we can bend the fields for the first time to control. It, as I said, we set our reactors at a high level and we try to see if we can bend it in. The last time we had an incident was that the fields bent away from the top reactor, and that all that energy was released into atmospheric condition, which creates all problem we have. One of the biggest challenges is to be able to create a rotational field that reverses back down from top. And one of the first indication of this process is reduction in the speed of the top core, which means gravitational pull from the lower reactors put pressure on and bend the fields in. And there is a limit. Those of you who try to match and run the space reactors, you look around, figures up between 2,250 to around about 2,600, 700, that you can start creating a condition that plasma has to become matter state condition of manifestation, or at least plasmatic matter state, which is like the skin of the man. In the future, when mankind understands more of this knowledge, he even understands how his own skin at what speed is created, what gravitational magnetic field creates that, what we call the elusive body of the man, which we think is some sort of a solid, but in fact it's totally plasmatic. I was with some knowledge seekers a few days ago, and we were standing in a forest, and I said, if you look at the skin of the man and you look at the skin of the tree, it looks about the same color. Because we all carry the amino acid, but it's slightly different. If you have what we call a slight skin disease, you've seen how you flake and your skin grows on top of each other. Go close near to a pine tree and look, it's exactly the same process. It piles up, it becomes what we call the skin of the trunk. So in reality, if you understand the difference between the what we spoke about, salinity, condition of the floor, and matter state or gaseous state of the matter, then you understand how you can even create wood strength or vegetation strength or any other condition which we might feel in the universe. So we understand it's how we dictate the outer layer, does not matter what we put inside the layer. And then the inside layers dictates its own shape, dictates its own destiny, what it holds and what can hold. So if we understand the difference between the skin of the man and the skin of the tree, or what we call the bark of the tree, there is no difference. We live through the conformation of the existence of the three layers, the top, middle, and the bottom layer of the skin of the man. The rest of it is contained by these field forces. The same is the bark of a tree. But we have to understand how those three layers become solid and how the other three layers in the lung of the man become soft, and in what we call herbs take a very soft stem to itself. We come to one conclusion, and that is the atmospheric condition which dictates the manifestation of the existence. So in a time when we come to the point to understand these, there is something which will come very apparent to mankind, and that is the structure of the shape of the spaceship or whatever you create is unique in the universe. It means all the members of the universal family follow the same pattern of existence, because the interaction of the layers of the fields is the same. So consequently and inevitably creates the same color. It goes back to what a famous man said when he created the Ford car. He says you can have it any color as long as it's black. So it might look different color in different dimensions in the space, but in reality is exactly the same thing. It has not changed. How it interacts with the environment of itself, it manifests itself in different color and shapes. One of the things which today's teaching will try to go into is environmental condition, because it's important in a space flight how we reach that, how we get there, and how we create the environments and what the environments mean to us. In the last couple of teachings I touched on it very softly, at what we call with salinity, but how salinity dictates the condition of the environment. These all counts. These are part of the process of the creation and conversion of the matter state of everything which exists on this planet. Before we go there is an important issue which we started last week. Actually, we discussed it last week and has to be understood by many of us. We touch on it. It's a political geopolitics, and somehow we are good at it to get ourselves in it, and sometimes we do good with it, and we have seen results with it. In that process, we saw His Excellency President Trump declaring he'll meet at any time, anywhere, without condition. We made an offer to the President of the United States. Tehran is the best place to meet. Condition was no condition. And then in return we return life back to 10 United States citizens who are in coma. That it shows the power of technology. And the last time we came to negotiation with the Americans, we showed the power of the space development of Iran, the capture of American drone. This time we show the saving of a life, and this is more important. In that process, we are aware and we are in communication. We understand that the Iranian government has shown indication that they are prepared to talk, but they don't trust it's going to lead anywhere because of what it stands on 5+1 negotiation with the Americans pulling out. But America is getting pushed into withdrawing sanctions or a lot of other things, which we don't think is necessary, because from what is coming from international, what we call economical point of view, there are a lot of governments who are trying to override the sanctions because jobs involved, security involved, and a lot of other things involved. So what it is, as I said, we are good at it, we get involved in it, and now is the second time we put Keshe Foundation online to go further. I have written a letter of invitation to His Excellency President Trump. American embassies are in line with our work of communication. We have people inside who we know directly take our messages to the White House. And the same are ambassadors, the Iranians and the Iranian government who we work through, will be on receipts of these invitations, what we've done, we have opened the channel for you as public to send this letter of invitation to every American embassy on this planet. The same to every Iranian embassy on this planet. The same to every other ambassador, president, prime minister you have, you know. What it is, the letter is text in a very simple way, but brings a lot of knowledge and hope. But at the same time, it brings a lot of clarity into where we have to stand. I have released a letter, it's signed, is cited on the Keshe Foundation website as of now. And I would like the head of the Keshe Foundation to read it, that we all understand what is involved. The private version of it, which is long and sent to the Iranian officials, is on the same text, but with the slight differences, as is a private invitation letter by me and on behalf of the Keshe Foundation worldwide. And we keep this, and I request you, please spend half an hour, find the email of your embassies, Iranians, Americans, Chinese, Russians. Forget about the English, because they do nothing but causing problem again, trying to stop it because they make a lot of money out of it. And invite these leaders to talk. It's very, very fortunate. There is the way the timing is, if we can get it. And we will see how the response will come in different directions. But the Keshe Foundation has shown before, we make difference. Our work, our word has made difference in number of occasions when we took part and we have delivered it. But don't forget, go by the ethos of the Keshe Foundation. When you send these to the world leaders through their ambassadors, do it with your soul. Press of a button, it reads, but it carries the emotion of the man with it. It's literally like the way you send a message from your brain to your toe. The toe moves, but in fact goes through the soul of the entity, not the physicality of the entity. Elevate the soul of these world leaders, especially Iranian world leadership. Iranian leadership is in turmoil. We see it, we raise them the hope that they see it, but the worst turmoil is sitting in the White House, that how to handle themselves in this position. My advice to both sides is very simple. Jump in the water. We all swim. We all be saved. It's just, if we don't, it'll bring such a disaster to many people that is not to do with the leaders. These world leaders sit in their palaces, they're in the White House, they sit in whatever, the bodyguards and everything else, and the most luxurious life. The man on the street pays sanctions, comas who die, and the rest of it. So, in reality, we have to elevate the soul of these people, because you've got to understand, these people, after being president, go back to normal life. Go back to being again to nothingness. It's just the name. How many of us do we see Obama around? How many of us do we see other people around, except accusation or whatever the standards or whatever is going around? I wonder if Ella is in the background, the head of the Keshe Foundation worldwide, and if you would like to read as head of the Keshe Foundation, because it's your responsibility to see the Keshe Foundation stands on its ground. Are you there?
Yes, hello, Mr. Keshe, I'm here.
Ella, would you like to read your message? And we listen. And this letter is available on Keshe Foundation website. Ella will tell you, copy it, sell it, whatever she tell you. You can send it around the world to world leaders. Take over, please.
Thank you. The link will appear in the Zoom chat, and you can share it. You have as well a download button for the letter, so you can download it and send it to your embassy. We can also share the letter on the screen, that you can see it. Okay. The letter is dated with today's date, Thursday, August 9th, 2018. It is addressed to the President of the United States of America. Your Excellency President Donald J. Trump, following your announcement of last week that you would meet anywhere and anytime without any preconditions, the nation of Iran would like to invite you to meet with us in Tehran, Iran, anytime in August 2018. We invite you and your family to bring your nation goodwill and be our guest to see how we suffer from the wrong decision of world leaders. We would like to offer Americans and their leader the warmest of our nation's hospitality. With this move and acceptance of this offer, our leaders will have to understand that generosity of peace comes from men of power and not from arrogance of time and position. In your accepting to come to our nation of peace, you effectively will force our leaders to accept world peace, and you and your administration will achieve its goal to encourage both nations of Iran and America to support you in your path to bring Iran in line with United Nations Agreement on Nuclear Disarmament. I make this offer on behalf of the Iranian nation and not on behalf of the government of Iran, as we did to start the previous peace talks. As an Iranian leading nuclear scientist and the initiator of the last peace talks in Brussels on the 15th November of 2012 between Iran and United States of America, which led to the 5+1 agreement in private discussions. In that meeting with your officials, by request of His Excellency President Obama, we stopped the 30-year war between our nations and started a dialogue that led to the first steps of talk and peace between the two nations. Now, you see amendments which are needed to the last agreement reached. Maybe you are right. Maybe we need to satisfy each other's sense of insecurity to move both nations to new levels of understanding. As an Iran national and Iranian nuclear scientist, and a supporter of world peace, and knowing that the Iranian government up to now has never refused any of my initiatives, and have taken all steps to see my desire and work to keep Iran within the realms of advanced science and technology, I make you and your nation an offer that cannot be refused, and my nation and its leaders will abide by it. My offer to you and your nation is as follows. In your visit to Iran, we will open all our nuclear facilities for you personally to visit. This means unconstitutional transparency, as I offered the last time, and my government followed it through. We will allow you and your team to choose any site which you and your national security team would like to visit to be opened within and during your stay in Iran. When one sees the truth, one cannot be afraid of the truth. This way, we lay aside all your fears of Iran's capabilities. At the same time, as a gift for your visit, as is tradition in our culture, we shower you with the most beautiful gifts that not only you personally, but your nation and my nation shall embrace and cannot refuse. Our gift to your nation from Iranian scientists is the biggest gift to all to show our hospitality to the world. And that is, we offer 10 of your citizens who have been in coma for any reason for any length of time, the gift of life with this technology, which has been developed by Iranian knowledge and know-how. Our doctors and scientists from Iran and from Esfahan University and the United States of America, at the same time as you leave your nation to enter Iran, will start the latest proven technology for recovery from coma developed by Iranian scientists. That by the time of your return to your nation, from your visit to Iran and the reciprocal visit of the Iranian leader, His Excellency President Rouhani, in September to the United States, our scientists jointly will awaken at least 10 Americans and 10 Iranian nationals from the sleep of life in coma, using the new plasma space technology. The gift of life to one man is the biggest gift from one person or nation that one can ever give to another man or a nation. With this gift and hospitality from Iran, we shower both nations of ours with the biggest gift of all, which is the gift of life and trust in our abilities to solidify and strengthen the arms of peace and the brotherhood of man. No man or even the world leaders cannot refuse such a gift, even if it is offered to one of its nation's animals, let alone to 10 of its citizens. This offer of the gift of life has no precondition, as was your offer of talk and meeting. Friends meet at each other's home to greet each other and talk over any difficulties, and do not go to strangers' homes to discuss family affairs. Thus, let us meet at each other's home and strengthen love and friendship between our two nations. I, as a senior Iranian nuclear physicist and head of my international organization of Keshe Foundation, and with the support of all our members and developers of the new science of plasma technology, which has made the present nuclear warfare and fears and present tools of war obsolete, and has made the gift of comfortable and peaceful coexistence life for every nation and citizen of this planet so reachable. And so we make you this offer with all our love and gratitude. Let us meet in Iran in August, and then in the United States in September, unconditionally and as friends, and let the gift of life come through the science and diplomacy, and not through arms, destruction, and ignorance. A copy of this offer is transmitted to Iranian officials and governments simultaneously, that no nation will be disadvantaged. My government will follow our wishes and make this warm invitation and gift to you and your nation. I hope, as a wise leader, and then maker and keeper of your honor and word, we keep to our promises. We both keep to our promises. Please advise within 7 days from the date of receipt of this invitation of your acceptance, so that our nations can prepare themselves for such a momentous and glorious meeting of the family of mankind. With greatest respect and gratitude, Mehran Tavakkoli Keshe, founder and director of Stichting the Keshe Foundation.
Thank you very much. This is a clear message from what we call system of this planet, because it has a lot of consequences. And in a way, it'll be the end of many conflicts, many wars. It's very hard for world leaders to do these things. The last time we offered hand of peace, we saw it was shaken, and we managed to achieve a lot. Compromise is needed, understanding needed. The American government has to understand Iran is made of the most generous people on this planet. It is the birthplace of peace and knowledge, and at the same time, respect is needed for each other. As I said, we can make decisions, we can make changes, but at the end, is our children will pay for these things. We've seen the mayhem in Syria, we've seen the mayhem in Libya, we've seen at the end our children on the street of Germany, France, Italy, who are homeless, fatherless, and everything else less. And then to get these people to understand the love of father and the mother, to understand the love of home, takes generations. And it's not easy. So instead of wasting so much time on threatening and making arms to kill, it's time to stop and start talking peace. You got to understand the cost of making these accusations and threats, and these sanctions goes to one place, and it goes to mankind and nobody else. We all pay for it. We have to understand there are Americans who are Iranian Americans. There are Americans who are Italian Americans, there are Americans who are German Americans. At the same time, in Iran, we come from different background and bloods of different nationalities and creeds and races. So we all suffer. And the consequence of it is the world nations have become aware that to create sanctions, to do all sorts of threats, will in so many ways discredit the nations who do it, because now has no value. On the other hand, once we see these peace talks, once we see the start of this work, once we see the establishment of what we call dialogue, the rest will follow. The rest will consequently will follow. We'll see, I'm sure the Chinese leaders will support it. The Russians will run over it and greet it in every way possible. And then what's going to be left is bad memories of what war was on human race. Because you got to realize, when the situation with Iran and the United States closes, where is the next war? There is no more conflict. Who's the next one we can have excuses to fight with? And if you look at the letterhead on the side, it says world peace. With this letter, we invite humanity to world peace. With this, what we call invitation, I'm sure we'll receive dialogues from Americans rejecting it, from Iranians saying it's impossible, and somebody in Tehran will pick a phone up and says, let's try. Let's talk. And this is my job. In the next few days, I continuously be speaking with diplomats. I push through Iranian connections through the government. And it's your job to push the world ambassadors. Don't send one. All of you send to all the embassies in the world. Send it to the world leaders. This is a very clear indication for yearning for peace. And this is a very clear indication. Life worth more than wars. 10 lives, even 1 life. I remember in olden days, few decades ago, they used to send whole army and whole plane to rescue 1 hostage, to save 1 life. Now you don't need it. The gift of life comes through the front door. No need for hostage taking. It's for greeting and supporting and being part of it. In a short time, as we send these out to different governments and different officials and different, what we call, line of ambassadorship, remember one thing, send it with your soul. This is the duty of every Universal Council and every Earth Council, to make sure this is received by the countries which they speak the language you are responsible for, and received by their American ambassador. It is important to understand fully what we are getting involved in. This is what we're here for, and this is what the knowledge is shared for. It needs a lot and a lot of strength to write such a letter. And for me, as head of the Keshe Foundation, and knowing why we are here, it's a natural process. We have to lead the world to peace. And we have to teach the children of man how to be peaceful. We are not mediating. We are meeting. We are not talking between 1 and 2. We are putting 1 and 2 together to be there. For them, after a coffee or a tea or sitting on a flying Persian carpet, they'll come to their senses. The knowledge is too advanced. We are not fighting. We are greeting and supporting peace. And this is very hard for those who are men of war to accept. There'll be a lot of allegations, there'll be a lot of security checks and the rest of it. From Iranian inside, we'll make you one promise to the American government. The American embassy in Tehran will be returned to the American citizens. Reopening of the American embassy in Tehran will be the flagship of this trip. Iranian government will support every move to see the opening of dialogue on a direct, open basis, not on accusation basis. We need to oversee and overlook. Those of you who are Keshe Foundation supporters, live in Washington, as you did before, deliver these directly to the White House. You did it last time. We can do it this time. If you're American and it takes you 1 or 2 hours of drive, make a copy in a beautiful golden envelope and deliver it, hand deliver it to the White House. Send it by post to the White House. It's different when they receive in their hand, they have to read it, than something on the screen. The last time when we pushed for another process, our Washington supporters delivered the letter to the White House directly, and they had to respond to it. There is a procedure followed, and it will be received. I hope we see, and as I said, today, tomorrow, and next few days, I'll be continuously online to the people who matter and make decisions, and try to find a way to make this happen. Even if the President of the United States does not go into Tehran, there is a meeting of, annual meeting of United Nations in New York in the coming months. I remember the last time His Excellency President Ahmadinejad in 2008 was going to Washington, going to New York, sorry, to start the, what I call the annual talks and all the threats we saw he made. I was in the lab in Sharif Tehran University and discussing with the Iranians. We have achieved flight. It's the responsibility of His Excellency to announce in the United Nations. I was told, you're a scientist, politics is in our hand. I requested that the Iranians announce the development of the Iran achieving a space lift. Just happened about that time. Just go on the calendar, look at, if you're Arab nation speaking, 28th of Shaban, 5:30 in the afternoon. And see how close it is to the meeting of the United Nations that time. The opening session of United Nations in 2008. So, as I said, why we chose the reciprocal visit to be in United States by the Iranian president is he's there. He'll be there for annual meeting of United Nations. And these diplomacy should not be in the back doors, back rooms, but straightforward. The world leaders can meet there even, and then reciprocal return by American president to Iran. This level of peace needs man of wisdom and courage. And I don't think President Trump is any short of any encouragement by his nationals. And so be it the Iranian president and His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei. There are some sort of obligatory, what I call opposition, which have to be there, otherwise they say it's orchestrated. We see it, and I'm sure the streets of Tehran will be lining the Iranian welcoming the American president. You can send as many intelligence services to cover your way. You don't need to bring any arms. No Iranian will harm you. This is our tradition. Those who killed on the streets of Tehran are paying for it in the streets of Damascus. No Iranian revolution killed another Iranian. It's not our tradition. They were brought in from Palestine, and they were brought in from Syria, and they killed mercilessly. This time, you're home with the friends. I think the intelligence office and the securities of America will be puzzled with the hospitality and joy they're receiving in Iran. Most probably you'll be kept in the same hotel as I did when I was in Tehran, under full protection. And that's the best place Iranians can keep you. It's safe. I stayed there 3 weeks. President Putin stayed at the same time in that hotel while I was there. And it'll be fitting for American president. We'll see what happens. Please send this to every ambassador you know, even not Americans, to the presidents, as you know, even non-Americans. Maybe they can make a call. We don't know who's friend of who. Especially send one to the Israeli Prime Minister. Maybe he would like to accompany President Trump. The time of rhetoric the annihilation of Israel has long gone with the man which has gone with it. He was paid to say, because he was paid through exactly where I told you to send the invitation to. But that's politics, we stay out of it. But this is diplomacy, we stay in it to bring peace. And this will bring a new environment for humanity. Once the man start war, fear of destruction, man will start investing in science and technology. And that science and technology will change the atmosphere of this planet. Will change a lot of things. It goes back into the knowledge and science of space technology, as we said. Change, condition of change. Though, if we run a single reactor and we feel better, or a plant grows better, can you imagine millions of souls radiating the same wave across this planet? If one star formation or one cup of Gans water has allowed your plant to grow bigger or greener, or you found a space you can live in peace, can you imagine what 1 billion, 2 billion souls can do on this planet? So many reactors dynamic running. We just got to learn it. Learn it to yearn for peace and use the energy within our soul to create that condition of peace. As a present citizen of this planet, I've done everything possible, and I will not stop till the last breath. But we have to understand what the condition brings. What does this maturity of man will bring us? It's not only the soul of the man which elevates, it's the motion of the existence of the soul of the man will change this planet too. What is important for all of us is that as part of the teaching, and becomes part of the important part of the teaching from now on, is not just that you look what does a single reactor does, or what does a cup of Gans does on the shelf, but to look beyond it, to what environment does it create, to what level and to what distance, that changes things. I was with one of the research guys very recently, and as we were climbing, walking up the, what you call a small hill, running out of breath at my age, he was explaining to me that we're running a reactor in the research center. We see the whole area, what we call alkalineness, moving to over 8 and plus. And we can go so far and it's still there. And I thought, my God, if one little reactor with limited capability can cover and alkalinize the whole field in the hills and the mountains, can you imagine what a strong wish of a man in the soul of the man can do across this planet? It's the change of environment. If a core can create such a change at 8 plus alkalineness, which means more or less zero possibility of cancer due to emotional condition, not accidental or evolution, then you can imagine what it can be done with the soul of the man. So we create the condition, we create the environment. We have to create a position for our existence on this planet, that by learning it, we can do the same in the depth of the space. At the end and totality of the teaching is the position of the man in the space. Position of man, understanding the position of his soul to confirm his existence in the depth of the universe. What does this mean? How do we create these conditions? And we have to understand the creation of the condition is what creates the conformation of the existence. We want to show ourselves. I'm sure if we jump in the melting lava, there'll be not much of us shown because we didn't dress properly for it. And I'm sure if we jump in the ice box in the North Pole and don't wear dry clothing, will not do much either. But the reality is, if the man in time learns how to operate the existence of his soul in respect to his physicality, he can jump into the lava. Does not matter how hot it is. Because he has prepared his soul, the condition of the environment that he allows to exist within that temperature. The temperature of what we call lava on this planet is nothing compared to the heat which happens in the depth and the explosion of the stars. But in those situations, life still exists because the soul has evolved to the condition to exist within that condition. If you remember, very, very recently, as recent about 20 years ago, we could not imagine. They said there is no life in the depth of the seas and the oceans. And then as we had the tools and we could go in the depth, we saw more animals. On the positions where is the heat coming up at a very high temperatures in hundreds of degrees, there are shrimps, there are lives, animals. So how could they stand this? Is it the physicality they change in them, or is it the dimension of the soul of the animal which has conditioned the physicality to be able to stand? This is what we have to become. So if you understand this, we have to understand further point that why can't we create these conditions ourselves? Why can't we create a condition on this planet that it changes everything? It does not need to be with a gas water, but it's the atmosphere which we can change. It's a condition that the environment changes what manifests itself in the matter state, not the matter state appeared out of nowhere. This is part of the teaching which we start even in our research to develop and to exercise. And that is, look at the conditions of where you live and what is needed there and what you want to change. What is the assets and facets of what you're doing in where you live. You live in a dry place, you wanted more rain, but when you want it, but it doesn't change the environment of it. This is part of the condition of the evolution of the science that many, many governments will try to abuse. In a way, the governments will try to change deserts into a living place, and they try to change places they could not grow things or do things to start growing and doing things. But you have to understand, the ecology of this planet depends on the totality of the structure of its atmosphere. So if you change in so many ways a desert, the condition for the air which needs to evolve around this planet will change. Where is it going to change? What's going to be? Who's going to stop the rains to be in one place and not moving? And on the other hand, deserts might change, but what about the neighboring position? Isn't it correct that we have to understand how to create a condition that not only the desert stands, but where you are stands for itself. And in condition, you change the receipts of the material in the position of the acceptance of the fields by the planet. Understand the terminology. You create a condition, but what you create, atmosphere, the interaction with the field of that area of the planet has to accept and see what it can produce. Many of you have started testing, and I've seen some pictures coming through, and they want to show, is this gold? I had something else there. What happened to it? Is this gas? I had a CO2 and something else there. Ask yourself one simple condition and question. What atmospheric condition did I change? what did the interaction of all these gases led to? Is it only the cup which is next to it which creates this, or is it the totality of the fields in that room? And if you move a cup 10 meters away, you find out I used to create gold here, it doesn't happen anymore. So the fact is, every field together gives you that result. You might be able to dictate condition of it. You might not be able to dictate condition. You might be able to hold condition of it. I have asked one of the research centers who is involved in the production of the materials to start commercializing systems which can produce matter state. And very shortly, you will see through Italian Keshe Foundation systems that you can buy, and then you can load, and then you can make your gold. And then you can make what you like. This is a request from which I put to our research center, and I'm sure in the next few weeks you will see matter production systems coming from Keshe Foundation, where they will let you exercise and test and show how you can create a condition, atmospheric condition, which in a given controlled condition can lead to production of matters. At the beginning will be very interesting and exciting. It's like when you do bake a cake and you make a recipe a little bit different. This time it becomes a biscuit, next time it burns and becomes something else, and the other time it becomes a cake with what you call a little bit of soft or uncooked, but at the end you eat it because you cooked it. So many of you will start testing. We have seen to this, and hopefully if you come to materials to see what they are, we have found a friend who might be able to help you, and I was with him very recently. You get in touch with the Keshe Foundation, and our friends have the facility. You have to pay for their time to do it for you, to see what you're creating. The samples will go to what I call Malta, and he will test it for you. And there's a fee we have to agree with them, with the lab, if they do it, what they can do, and or other places. Because as we've seen in one of our research centers, you produce such a minute amount that they cannot even test it. Or what is it? We have a discussion now just before the communication starts today, that somebody is claiming to make gold and somebody claiming to make something else. Yes, but please video these conditions and take your full video of the whole surrounding. Was the cat sitting under the table and you happen to pass somewhere, it was a gold dust, and now you pick it up, and next time the cat is not there, the gold dust will not be in the pocket. Because don't forget, remember the orange and the gas water, how you got the transfer of the energy into the taste of the orange. Now this time is the cat and the gold. So you have to understand. You have to be part of it. You have to be able to understand exactly the whole situation. In one of the research centers I was looking at, they have made a box that they can keep everything controlled and under control. We made this box in Trani, in Barry, in Valletta, where we put things inside this box that nothing can touch. We cover it with nano-coated materials, which means it'll be a continuous balance field. Whatever you make is what is in there. But it has a problem. It has to have a gravitational magnetic field above what nano-coating you have put on it, because now that's a filter. But if you can penetrate it, so then you condition purity with what we call restriction and filtering. Then you say it produces with or produces without. Start understanding the application of the fields of the plasma. In the present discussions in past few weeks and past few months, we went from what we call the gases to plasmas and condition of creation of the plasma. Then we brought what is known, because you are all physical people, you have to have something in your hand, we couldn't see the plasma. We showed you how to create neutron. Neutron is created out of the condition of the interaction of the materials, and it can be any material. If you can find a material which you can create a condition of interface between another material, whatever is a residual it'll give you a neutron. But have you created a condition that neutron itself converts itself back to another matter or becomes a collective effect of the matter? This is your another problem. If you go to high level, what we call heavy elements with a huge number of neutrons, you can do the same. If you've done the same thing between hydrogen and deuterium and tritium, and you extracted one neutron, if you're knowledgeable and you can make the Ganser, you put such an element with 20 more neutrons than another element, but equal number of electrons and protons, what you're going to get the surplus, this time 20 neutrons. But you have to understand what happens to these neutrons. On the stability of nuclear decay, which comes from the essence of the creation of neutron, brings you another dilemma. What does a neutron do? Respect to condition it is, and condition and a position which other neutron take to itself, it converts itself automatically, those who are under giving pressure, to a neutron electron. What are you going to end up with? Another 10 electrons, another 10 protons, another 10 neutrons. What is 10? So this becomes your new element. You have to understand conversion. You have to understand the position of the conversion. You have to understand what is. Neutron doesn't stay there, oh, I'm a neutron, I sit down till the cows come home. They interact, they radiate. The most unstable nuclear reaction in the universe is the existence of neutron, because it gives so much that it splits. It's very much like, as I call, a seam of a trousers. If you take enough thread out, the trousers falls apart in two halves. So in reality, this is what you have to understand. I hear a lot of people who start playing with neutron are disappointed. It was yellow, now it's changed to orange. Of course it does. Because some of your neutrons, in losing the energy, trying to keep the conformity, and all the other neutrons in the magnetic field, gravitational field strength, have lost their energy. What is going to happen? It becomes an electron and a proton. You have a free neutron. What are you going to get? You end up with deuterium. But deuterium, in a condition of the conversion of the fields, especially in the presence of the conversion of neutrons, and the amount of the field strength collectively released, creates a condition of two neutrons and electron and proton to create a balanced field of what we call very much like helium. So what you're going to end up with is deuterium. I made a neutron, but how come I'm ending up with tritium? Very simple. You lose some energy, or you can put them on the magnetic field strength or through a plasma transition field, and then you get what you want to get. In the coming up of teaching, many of you will learn. If you remember, I explained about the magnets. But go back to your teaching, go back to what you understood, go back to the science of the conversion of the fields. Now, if you had that neutron, the bucket of yellow things you created, and you know very soon it's going to change itself to tritium and maybe some deuterium because it's dividing and it's a natural process of linking up, then what's going to happen? By what you put in the boundary of that system, the way as you did with another coating in the box, you decide how the neutron will take shape. Would it become gold or would it become copper? Would I change it to water and make the magnetic gravitational field of the water? You create the condition that converts the neutron in space into water. At least the energetic water that when it enters your body or comes near your body absorbs and converts it to the liquid you call water or blood. This is how environmental condition comes into existence and plays in the life of the man in space. Don't forget, man is not the only one. Billions of other races have already done so. So it doesn't have novelty that you come something else with. Man is not the only race which carries something called fluid like a blood. Many, many races in the universe do. Man is not the only race which can have emotion and everything else. Every race on the universe has the same emotion. So now that the man joins the what we call universal community, the uniqueness does not exist. It's in fact understanding the totality which gives the man the knowledge of understanding is part of the creation, repetition of the same process, and there is no uniqueness to it. Maybe red color, yes, but there are other red color race blood in the universe. You are not the only one. I can take you to many. We have all colors of races of the blood in the universe, transparency and manifestation. So you have to understand it's not just the iron which makes the red color in the condition of the interaction with protein. There are other liquids which have got the same capability of doing the same. So in so many ways, what environmental condition you create dictates what you're going to get. The purpose of this teaching today is creation condition of the environment. Many of you have got, and this is typical of the way I teach, and you lot like a lamb to the slaughterhouse, follow it and then don't think anymore, as I call a copycat good job, is you just all made a neutron. What's the next step? Why not you decide the environment that the neutron does not convert into the helium or does not convert into oxygen. You want direct property of the water to be there to be absorbed. But do you need to manifest it first in a liquid form that it be there, or can you stand next to it and hold it and see you never go thirsty? Because you become again, you remember the cup and the orange, now the neutron is the orange. You are the cup. And if you manage to transfer the water through it in a plasmatic condition, that is a neutron itself, then you achieve it yourself. This is the beauty of the process. This is what you need to understand. You can create a condition in the universe anywhere that if it fits the life of man on this planet. But what you need to exist is not just oxygen or hydrogen, is the totality of what you take in. Man always looks and says, oh, I'm breathing oxygen. My dream. No way. You, when you breathe, you inhale the gold which is in the air coming down to be the silver, to the odor of the cow which made some gases in United States. Or the God knows somebody else who sits in Tehran and does something else. We are part of the multi-structure gravitational magnetic field forces of gases, and it fulfills the whole of universe. The scientists a few years ago, a couple of decades ago, did a very interesting test, and I've talked about this before. If you haven't heard it, you hear it again till you understand exactly what it is. They say the worst thing to do is to keep your toothbrush where your toilet is. You say, what the toothbrush got to do with the toilet? Read the documentaries. When you flush, so many percentage of, doesn't matter what you think, on down, is spread as part of the odor in the atmosphere of the bathroom, and you can find it on your toothbrush. Scientists have proven it. So, can you imagine if you are in a desert and you do the same job? And where does it go? Necessarily, if it's in Arizona, it will land up in Saudi Arabia, and if it's in Saudi Arabia, it lands in United States. Because this time, the container is not the wall of the bathroom. The container is the atmosphere of this planet. Now you can see how racism in this planet has such a little meaning. Because all of us, we are at it, and all of us sharing each other, and we say we are this and that. Now you understand, because it's the condition of the atmospheric condition of this planet, which is on the gravitational magnetic field of a GANs and not the matter state, and at the same time, it's the conversion of it. If this has been very hard and you always thought you absorb matter state, you got to understand you got a long way to come, because conversion of the field forces of the gases has forced us to live under this condition that we absorb fields of the gases, and where the field comes is only when it's in the plasma condition. In a matter state, it's very hard to lose. So what it comes to, you want to produce materials. Now you have learned about the plasma before and the fields it produces. Now you've learned about what I call the neutrons. You have to be able to contain the plasmas and in a way make a containment for the neutron by the plasmas. And then you decide what containment of the plasmatic you create, that that neutron will change to the matter state or the energy state which you want to convert it to. If the gravitational magnetic field of the atmospheric you create around your system is of gold, the neutron will convert itself to the gold value element. So as we develop these kind of knowledge and technology, we need to understand the reality. So now we become in charge and in control of the totality. In so many ways, many scientists have been yearning to understand, how can I make water? I could make it, I cannot make it now. Those who understood and start understanding the process of the creation of the gases which created the field, and now they can produce the neutrons very easily, should be able to produce any matter at any point in the universe. The conversion between the fields of the environment and the condition of the existence of the package of the field. In a way, if you look at it, is an envelope and what you call what you put in it. But this time, whatever you put, the envelope converts it to what you wish. You put neutron in the pocket, and then you put your hand in, your wish is, I have gold, you'll come out with the gold. Because you create through your wish the condition, the environmental condition, that the energies of the fields of the neutron convert themselves in addition together to the strength gravitational magnetic field of gold. Many of you will learn. So many magicians tried to show this, but they could not, and so many people made and they could not explain. Now scientifically you can set out to do it, and if you are pure enough to do it, you will see it. You can do it. But you wanted the gold on the table, you got it right, you got it wrong, it appears somewhere on the floor in the corner. Which means you still created the fields, but the intention was not there. You added the soul to it. You added the condition of understanding of the mixture of the totality. So now that you have started playing with gases and their fields, and then now that you start playing with the neutrons and you think you really got it this time, now you can go and start making whatever you like. Because you have the dough and GAN's plasmatic field is the oven. How do you want it to be? Do you want a bread, or do you want a cake, or do you want a biscuit? It's the same flour. It depends what condition of fields you create and what conditions you enforce for it to be created, that it converts in a way what it needs, the extra, to become part of the field of it, to matter state that you need. Those of you who understood what I said now, you'll be running into your lab and says, oh my God, now I know how to make dinner tonight, I don't need to eat. But you try to explain to your husband, this is the energy of fish and chips, not the fish and chips. And you have to put the emotion in his brain that it tastes so nice and say, such a beautiful fish and chips. It's very easy to do when you understand. I know there is a guy who's dying to show us his neutron creation, but in fact, if you do the neutron conversion and you know how to play, then you should be able to create any matter state or material state from every single neutron you have created. Ahmed, you want to make a comment? I heard you have been very eager to talk about this. Can you give him the microphone?
Oh. Actually, it's a joy. When you understand.
Hello?
Hello?
You need to get closer to your microphone there, Armin, or select a different microphone. It sounds distant.
I said I'm not.
No, we can't hear you.
I said I'm not eager. It's a joy.
No, I think you had too much talkative. It's too far from Mexico.
No, I am in Mexico.
Where are you?
In Tijuana.
Tijuana. You're at Keshe Foundation headquarters. Yeah, but we can't hear you. You talk so softly, like all the children
No,
are
I'm
asleep.
sitting.
Don't
I am
want to wake
sitting
them
a
up.
little bit further. So how about now?
You come a bit closer. Try to put it right in front of your mouth.
Mr. Keshe, I'm sitting in front of my computer. I
You
don't have
need to speak a bit louder.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, Armin. I think we can make do. Maybe the Zoom will automatically increase the volume anyway. It's probably just the setting in your Zoom there. So try it again.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Hello, Mr. Armangolan.
I have a.
Now you disappeared again.
I disappeared. No.
Yeah. Maybe I'm getting old. You know, when you get 60, everything drops. And one of them is the ear first thing. Deafness is the first sign of when you don't want to hear.
Okay. I don't have a headphones. It's just my computer, so that's why I have.
Okay, it's good now. Bravo.
Okay. Can I share the screen?
Yes. Are you on camera or are you just going to share things?
I'm gonna share. Then I will be in a camera. I can't show.
Sorry, Rick, this is a young boy, doesn't know how to use the computer. Can you help
I
him,
know
please?
it. I know it. I am already there. Yeah, you can see my screen.
White.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Keshe. What? I'm just gonna talk about it. It just, from your teachings,
Pardon?
from your teachings in the Senzano, in the gas reactors, we have a condition which is in plasmatic condition inside. And for, to activate, you need to have a radioactive material. But in GANs, we don't need that. So to release the energy of any GANs, any strength, and you talked about it many times, and that time we never could have seen that we have to mix it. To release the field. Each is package of energy. And each is different strength. But they are in balance. Even we're rotated, we're not mixing it. We're not whipping it. And many times you talked about the mixer. So to release the energy of neutron in a salt condition, you just have to whip it. This is what I want to explain, the way I understand. And this whip, you just have to cover it with nanomaterial. just to wrap it up with the nanomaterial. In effect, it will be different. Any comments, Mr. Kirsch?
I am on.
No, I was just saying, my microphone off. We know this past 5 years.
I know.
I know, you just realized. Don't tell anyone. Let them wait another 5 years.
No, why?
So tell them how you do it.
Very simple. I connect my computer.
You gotta speak louder.
A video I cannot connect, or I have to stop sharing. I cannot connect my video. Can anybody help me, please?
Rick, can you help this young chap, please?
You should be able to go ahead now.
He's new to computers from Mexico. Never been on one or cameras.
Start my video now. But why it's not starting? Oh, maybe this one. Ah.
Some people have very nice teaching room in Mexico, huh?
Some people. It's for Mexico.
You need a microphone, pocket microphone, that we can hear you.
This is the lab.
Yep. Don't forget to invite us, huh? We'll come and have a look.
I already did. You are the one who is delaying it.
I know, I know.
Here,
Okay, what's this?
if you see, you wrap it up in nanomaterial on a blade.
Armin, can you choose the other microphone? Maybe the camera has a better microphone because of where you're standing.
Are you sure?
Maybe you got to swallow it, Armin.
How about now?
Perfect.
Much better.
Thank you, Vince. I don't know why my motor stopped when I was blending it high speed, and motor stopped and it's not heated.
That's normal, because you have created a field. It happens with a lot of people who start using gases in a condition of high speed rotation with motors. It's not just your motor stops and then it starts again. A lot of household things you're using will be the same.
No, it started. My gosh.
Yeah, the field is back again. We took a lot of energy from it.
I just let it, I just took it up and let it stay. Now it's working perfect. This is what I'm talking about.
What's all this noise you're making?
This is the motor noise. It was not making this noise. Why I'm making it now? I don't know. And it let it settle.
Can you tilt the camera down a little bit, please, Armin?
Nice ceiling. So what are we looking at? Mr. Armangolan, what are we looking at?
We're looking at that we release the energy of the combination of the gas into the water. rapid way. It's like in homeopathy, you have to hit several times to divide.
Yes, I know that. We've been teaching that for a long time. So what are we learning from this, Armajan?
That in this water, we created the neutron field. This water is now energized with neutron field. Because it's a rapid release. Any comments, Mr. Keshe?
No, we're still seeing what I call the gases you've created, and not much I can tell you. You've gone through the whole process of teaching from A to Z. But the question is this plasma the same as the plasma it went in?
No. Now
So
it's in
how much
totality.
is the difference?
Now we add all the fields, whatever we have in a GaN state, because the strength, each one is different. I have a zinc, I have a CO2, and have a CH3. Correct, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, there's nothing wrong with it. What are you going to do with it?
Now, if I take this water, I can create,
Whatever you like.
Definitely.
But you have to create a condition, environmental condition outside it to be able to get what you want.
I understand.
So put a cup on top of it and make another blender. You might get some water. I know John has done some experiment about this, which we talked some times ago. And he sent me a video and he's trying to do it. That's increasing the field forces by blending it of the gases.
Correct.
Yeah. So maybe if we connect that to this one, then we might learn something more advanced.
We talked with John. We talked with John already a few days ago.
Yeah, but not in this teaching. I've never seen you teaching it.
No, I was talking with John about this a few days ago.
This is part of understanding the space technology, how you can change things, how you can homogenize.
Yes. Now, if I use this water in patches, it's the environment I will create. So it's high energized. I can have my combination, what I need to give or I need to take. We can have different environments. I can mix another mixture and see what I bring in.
What about if you put it inside it with two gaps in it?
That's what I'm saying.
So?
Oh, you don't see it anymore. Yeah.
Oh, now I see it, yeah. Oh, you've been a busy boy, haven't you?
Yeah, if you have a space, you can bring a third one in and see what you get in between. This is, I think, how you can create matter.
Who's expert in this?
I can add something to this, which I don't know if it's completely relevant or not, but I just happened to look up microbubble implosion, because you're creating microbubbles in there which do implode. And I ran into a scientific article that says breaking the 100 mega electron volt barrier for proton acceleration will help elucidate fundamental physics and advance practical applications, from inertial confinement fusion to tumor therapy. Herein, we propose a novel concept of bubble implosions. Bubble implosion combines microbubbles and ultra-intense laser pulses to generate ultra-high fields and relativistic protons. The bubble wall protons undergo acceleration toward the center due to the spherically symmetric Coulomb force, and the innermost protons accumulate at the center with a density comparable to the interior of a white dwarf. Then an unprecedentedly high electric field is formed, which produces an energetic proton flash. And the three-dimensional simulations confirm these imploding bubbles, and they behave.
Could you read that? It's too complicated.
Yeah, it's
for a layman like us, it's very
complicated. Well, that's it. It's in science. Maybe I should just show the website. I can show the abstract here on the
they're going to get sued for showing things again.
No, it's okay.
Okay, let me explain something.
May I give you the board?
It's like a whiteboard, Mr. Keshe?
No. I have a bad internet. I keep on getting chopped off.
Oh, okay.
The reality is a lot of us don't consider these things. What holds, what complies with the rules and regulations and what you call a universal work. And if you look at some of the space reactors which are not working, some of the space reactors which are working, in design these things have not been considered. But on the other hand, you can converse it, and you can convert it with the single, what you call, GANs. These are adding to the knowledge, and so these micro bubbles, as you call them, which exist, are collectiveness of the energy which are in the container. You cannot pick them up and say this is neutron. The totality is absorbing and totality is releasing.
Mr. Keshe, if you notice, some of the GANs, they're not settling, they're rotating, they're in a movement.
They'll be moving for a long time. These are magnetic gravitationally positioning themselves in respect to all that pieces at the bottom.
Yeah, in their environment.
Yeah. So you see how, if you look at it, you have a central position where there's a huge amount of energy. And if you look at the rest of it on the top with all the bits, it's like a galaxy and universe. Depending on the strength from the universe, you are distant to yourself and rotating. It's dynamic in three position while you are under influence of a field.
These are dynamic, if you look.
Yeah, of course they are. It's Earth rotating, but in its own position.
Mr. Keshe,
Now you understand even how creation of the fields and position of and motion created. Now it goes back to what I usually ask the people who, when I do a lab presentation, when I ask them how fast have you traveled in life, and say, oh, this is so many kilometers. Oh no, but I've been playing, I think I know 900, unless 1,000. And then as usual, we'll see what conditions created. If you very closely look at your box, you see the density is very much different from the bottom to the top. But if you look, the shape and the pattern is nearly enough the same. You see repetition. Are you there?
Yes, definitely, Mr. Keshe.
Definitely. But you see, the position is, what do? We produce these things. You and I have been at it for God knows how many years. But bringing these fields to concentrate, to focus on one point that they release the energy to, still is a mystery. And it shouldn't be. Because the reality is what we said, creative condition. Creation of condition, creation of condition. What do you create? If you put magnesium on one side and you put calcium on the other side and put copper on the other side, exactly the mountain which you came from, then you might not get what you created.
Yeah, you will add on.
Yeah.
It will be totally different field. So how it could be the same?
It can never be the same. The strangest thing is, many of you are testing, developing, seeing these, but you're so focused to see what you want to see that you ignore what is showing to you. And I've seen that many times. You're so focused to get to the GAN sky that you forget in that process you had some matter. Where's the matter? Where is the gaseous stage of it? Why do we get this material condensing so much on top of each other? Why does it stop?
It's a condition what we created inside and outside too.
So you can extract from it what you need. In the future, man will hold a lot of gases in the fridge and freezers and everything else. I need this and that for every application. But you cannot find a replacement for it because your body is still in the matter state of the atmosphere here on this planet. Is John around?
I'm here.
Hi, John. You want to show us your mixer? No, Arman has shown his mixer.
My mixer was Armin's idea. Armin and I shared the ideas, but my mixer looks very similar, but I just use different materials. I'll show it. Let me pull it up.
Now the mixer market should become very hot with all the Keshe Foundations going to buy one to see what they can make.
What they can mix.
What
The
they can make.
dough.
But the thing is, what can we do? What do we understand from this? You see, this is whole caboodle with this knowledge, this technology, is that you have put it in there, you mixed it, you homogenize the field strength, and you do nothing with it.
No, Mr. Keshe, we just, you know, I just did it today. So to do something, it's the next step.
Yeah, but what are you going to do with it? If I was you, I'd create children's with it. I know how to create children's with it. Do you want to know?
In time, I will.
Yeah, well, would you like gold?
Sure.
Yeah, but what's the gold value?
Nothing.
You see, these fields, how you tap into it, will give you a lot.
How you cut in.
How you tap into it, how you create a condition of a bandwidth extraction of fields, which that bandwidth in the plasma condition give you, let's say, copper. It's no use you have a gold where you cannot use it. You need a copper ring, otherwise the gold ring doesn't do. You have to understand what you're going to do with it. We've seen for years people making things, oh, it sure this happens. What's next? What can you do? You have a CH3 in there, you have a H3 in there, you have deuterium in there. What happened? You mixed it, you energize it.
Yes, you can use in health. Depends where you want to direct it. You can, a lot of things you do.
The man in space will learn something very quickly, and that is the conversion of the fields themselves are the source of energy. You don't need to take the energy from electron or proton. The neutron in its conversion has released so much energy at such a specific bandwidth that it fits everything. And man does not use it. And it stays around it, what we call the atmosphere of it.
First, you have to understand how to use it. That's where we're getting there, Mr. Keshe.
Are we going to see a flying cow next week?
You know, for you, it's easy to say. You are a nuclear physicist and you know everything about...
I have thought that the layman, look, the space program of China is done by the most layman man you ever get. A 5-year-old child in China makes it in, what do you call it? In a small room.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we have to see what we want. We keep on making things, as I said before, but we don't actually put it into use. This is why when I was talking...
That's what I'm going to do.
I said, yeah, you make use of it. People have to start seeing things which manifest themselves. Sure. Understanding of this science, this technology now is people seeing that's so physical. And as I said earlier on, the Italian Keshe Foundation very soon will release systems which make whatever you need. It's a creation of condition. And they fix it as we need it. It's time for it to come out. We had the GANS machines, everybody bought these GANS buckets doing this. Now we have to put these, what they call plasma machines, and see what comes out of it. And suddenly you create a condition and suddenly genie appears in the cup. Where did the genie come from? You brought a man from planet Zeus in because you create the environment for you just wanted to create gold. So the conversion of fields to matter is something which man has never seen. It's a part of the evolution of the science. What we call, what you call transmutation of elements is actually transmutation of fields, conversion to matter state, or whatever state. And this is part of what the teaching is. It's just that what you want is there. Convert it, GANS it, matter it, gas it, whatever you like. You got to create a condition, environmental condition for what you want to reach. Many people, I go and see many Keshe Foundation people have jars and buckets of every gans you can imagine, from nettles to beetles and whatever else. They could get a hand on it, they gans it, but what are you going to do with it? Or is it just a hobby?
No, that's the part that we need to understand, Mr. Kish, how to deal with it. You know, we're not every day, we're dealing with the fields, now we know how to cut. So we know
So
how
can
to
I have
make
a
a
piece of
cake.
bread?
If you ask me how to make a cake, I will bake it and give it to you.
Can I have a cake, please? I have not had my birthday cake yet. I'm still waiting.
Now we just have a dough, so we're trying to create a cake.
But can I imagine I had a cake using my field strength of my soul?
Sure.
With all the fields of the cakes in every bakery down the road baking.
But still, my baking is going to be different than whatever you imagine.
We're not giving you any ovens, forget about it. The condition, the creation of the condition is the confirmation of manifestation. As I said, we're expecting, hopefully, if our thing gets it right and they're reducing their speeds, they come down to whatever and they come back up again, but they can control it to come down. They understood why they went up and they understand why they're going to come down. And they achieve below 229, 27. And if the condition of the second field is good enough, they'll see an interaction with their own system. Otherwise, Papa sitting in the corner can watch you, but you cannot see it. It's time to learn, as I said before, mix the gases, mix the neutron, and become a creator. It's time to innovate. How many of you can make this system that will extract the cancer from your body without you knowing, and nobody knew you had a cancer? It's all in there. It's how we apply it, how we understand the knowledge, how we interpret, and how we develop our interpretation to become a reality in science. In some part of the universe, what do you call it, the universal community had to interfere. And this is part of man. When he opens up into the universal community, you will see or read about the history of creation in the universe. We create what is known beacon of control. We don't interfere, but we know certain places or certain conditions in the universe leads to certain kind of, let's say, behavior. We don't wait till that behavior manifests itself. We change what we call condition of the whole environment, sometimes huge part of the galaxies, universes, to create a condition of peacefulness, create a condition of having what you need, that it creates and leads to what we call love and generosity, whatever you call it. These beacons of what we call, whatever you call it, carry a spectrum of fields which meets the demand of the need of the soul of the creation, not the physicality of the creation. The man, when he goes to space, will see huge amount of these around in some places. It's been done by the universal community very much like we don't interfere, but we allow the fields to be this bandwidth that does not allow such a thing to happen. If we have the same position here, something is very interesting. We came across in the past couple of years those who start using gases in different ways, and then they found out they went through the craziness of it, but the cats and dogs went through the same craziness. Because it touches the soul, which is all of the same strength. And this is how we have to understand it. And then we create conditions for it that does not happen. This goes back to the teaching of today, what I said. we have, and the collective consciousness, as we call it, lead us to understanding and change and conversion of the man and the rest of the animals on this planet to a peaceful nature. Because we created it, we know it's there, and we want to create out of it what we want. We converted the GANs, the zinc to a GANs, and then we converted it to what do you call it, the field of it, and then we put the field of the GANs of zinc and something else together, and we create, let's say, copper or aluminium. But how come part of it we don't understand that we can do the same and touch the soul of the man and change the behavior of the total planet? Because we come from that field of strength to be able to create a condition, to be able to force the condition to be changed. And this is part of what I call the new teaching. That we create the condition of environment of peace. Very much the letter we showed today. What is it? It's a bunch of words. But what has arisen? The soul of consciousness. And with it, I can do. And then you wish peace, I can send something, and the other sends. Who gets trapped in between it? When you do it across this planet, the fields are moving. Well, how come if you did the summer or a winter and you put a GANs on one wall and you put another different GANs on the other wall, you kept the room temperature constant and the field moving from one to another gave you the feeling of the warmth or cold. So it's the same with the man. You are on one side of the planet and I'm on the other side. I wish peace, you wish peace, and between us sits President Trump. Where do you think he's going to go? With a lot of love and care. This is what we see in the environment of the life of the man. And we never understood it. Now we understand it. We can do something about it. You don't need to touch to understand. You can feel it and you understand it. Because you have to have the sight, the vision, the understanding. And understand how the fields work, how you create a condition with the fields you create. Yesterday we had a gentleman with us. 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, he's highly diabetic. One of his eyelids dropped and was closed for 2-3 months. He was going through the process of what we call diabetic blindness. And what the diabetic blindness is that the eye shuts, and over a period of time, gradually, as there is sugar in this whole structure, the eyelid doesn't open up. It's like a curtain which loses its string, it just drops all the way down. And then the neural system of the eye gradually shuts down because there's nothing, no light coming through it, there is no vision needed. Gradually you go blind, and like amputation of the leg, they remove the eyeball and the rest of it. It happens many, many times to people who go through this cycle. What we did about 6 weeks ago, we saw him. I said, I know what this is, how I can help him. And for 3 months he couldn't see with an eye. We can release his pictures covering his face or whatever. And a couple of weeks ago he sent us a picture that my eye is opening, my eyelid is opening, which means the reverse of diabetic. Never been done before. And he was with us yesterday. And his eyes open, but he was closing it again because he could see with one eye, because he was seeing double visions. Because when in that 2-3 months when the eye was shut, the degeneration and nerves are resetting themselves to go blind or whatever, has created the double vision. I said, just wait a few minutes. We made him 2 patches. And one of the reasons now he was closing his eyes not to have a double vision, because when he moved from one angle to another, he was seeing the other people with a new double vision. So in matter of minutes, literally minutes, understanding the conversion of the fields within the brain of the man, I made him 2 small patches and he sat there. Now the double vision was gone. He says, I can see 80% better. Now I can see 95% better. Now I can see 97% better. And all this is understanding, giving a sight of a man to a man who's going to have to be blind is my speciality. It's the gift I carry with me. Gift of life is one of the facets of my presence. And very easy. A man will go through amputation. A man goes through what we call loss of eyesight, through diabetic, and up to now there was no cure for it. Now we can do, because we understand. If it was you, what you do? You wait till the man loses his sight. This is what's happening in the world of medicine today. He couldn't touch any carbohydrate. He denied himself everything, and now he eats rice and whatever else, and he even takes some alcohol, because now diabetic is in the backfire. And yesterday he walks out of here with full eyesight. If you would have never met him, most probably in the next 6 months, 12 months, what will happen? A man becomes blind, and then another eye. The man loses amputation, a leg, an arm. Now you see a man, he's part of the bigger, what we call family of Keshe Foundation. He's one of our staff. He's not a stranger. But if you don't understand this knowledge, how can you help a man? It's not the first time I'll give insight back. Because I did not go and make ganses or did drop here. I created the environment. And my wish and my will to give a man the gift of sight is for him to receive it and replace him within minutes. You go to any scientist, any school of, what do you call it, eye surgery, they say it's crazy, it's impossible. This is a confidence having in the knowledge you carry. This is understanding the totality of the science. You create these things, what you do with it. How do you create the environment that what you created has an application? And doesn't have to be to show. When you need it, you show the application. And the more you focus to show something, the less you ever be able to show. Because life has to be free. It's not the time and the place for don't touch. You don't need to touch. You feel the soul, you feel the chi, you feel the light, you feel everything. You feel the essence of existence. You interact. Any of you understanding the technology, the creation of space and matter and energy, the creation of the fields, because you carry in your package, every single one of you, you made ganses, you carry the package of life. It is inevitable, 100%. Doesn't matter how many times you wash your ganses, you carry a drop of amino acid which was created on the surface. It's in there. It carries the imprint. All of you, you keep on saying, I created CH3. There is no way that you create a CH3 without presence of hemoglobin. The color of the orange of CH3 is because of the presence of hemoglobin. And what is it? It's in your blood. Why does CH3 effectively transfers energy to the blood of man? Why do we use it that way? As we said last week, you make any patches understand the totality, the salt, the ratio. You create a condition. None of you creates the matter. You create a condition for the matter to move or to appear. Then you can influence the physicality through the field. Many of you, when you test your systems, when you do the medical testing or whatever you do, you make these physical balls. How many of you know where to start with? I said 100% of the doctors work around the Keshe Foundation have got no clue what they're doing most of the time. Because there's one thing you don't understand. You make a patch. You make the patch which needs to work. You have to understand, is it within the structure of the field of the soul of the man or the physicality soul of the man? You put a patch on the heart and they tell you they feel better or worse. It's the only way you can directly know if the patch you are making is working for your patient or not. When I make a patch, without anybody knowing, I test it. I don't need to bring it, but you test it, you see if it matches. What people say, oh, I take this, since you gave me the patch, I fall asleep. Of course you fall asleep, because you create the environment that your body is creating new cells needs energy, gives you rest, you go sleep more. But do we create the environment that is part of the totality of the creation of the man? At the same time, this goes back to what we said, you create the environment. Why did I start the teaching of today about creating an environment? Because we are getting to the point, as I've said in other teachings, that we need to create the environment to be able to welcome the being of the universe. You cannot put a live fish on the table when it's not in the tank of water. The part of the teaching which is leading man, what we are trying to explain is, you want to create a condition to invite the universal community to teach you to understand the creation of the universe, create the invitation of the place and welcome. This is what we did in the letter to the President Trump. We create the condition of environment that he feels at home. In a coming time, when you start making these dynamic fields, these dynamic reactors, when you run into multiple fields, you will start creating condition, the same as you brought the orange in the cup. Now the field is the cup and the orange is the passengers of universe. Do not be surprised if you see things and say, I saw something. You invited it, you created it. I sat with the space reactors with the Chinese community watching it. And I could see things, but I thought, if I tell these guys, they say you're a lunatic, but they don't have the eye to see. I watched the presence of members of universal community. They're there because the field has created that condition. But our guys are totally blind to the reality what's in front of them. It's part of the test. The way I set it up, knowing the work of the universe, I wanted to know if it's there. We hear voices, we hear noises, but where does the noise come from? Not from the machine. It's the presence of the existence, because we created that condition. But the team doesn't understand, they don't have the eye to see, they don't have the knowledge what to look for. It doesn't have to have 2 legs and 2 arms and laugh. Go back to what I reported a few weeks ago. We hear noises. But where does it come from? How does it change from one thing to another? Part of it is a mechanical sound, but the other part, you see the entity. This is why I start teaching, as I said, to understand the environmental conditions. Many of you going into multiple reactors. Now, before you create, as I said, the cup, or you put the water in it, you put the orange, you tasted it. Now you're creating fields. Interaction of the fields creates that cup. And if the field you created is of a specific order and existence, you get the orange. This time is existence. This is how we create the condition. We don't make a trap. We make a welcome home. And you have to understand the same thing applies to the man. In the space, if they create the environment that is conducive to the existence of the man, man can manifest itself the same as he is on this planet. This is the reason for part of the teaching today. Creating of the environment. Why do we need to create the environment? And what does it lead when we do these things? What do we expect? Many of you start running these dynamic systems for a space flight and the rest, and you have 2 or 3 of them. In between 2 and 3, you created dynamic field. Many of you I've seen, even in my own, what do you call it, star formations. You're looking for, you don't see, but if you look deep enough, you understand the conversion of energy within the triangles. Many times you have visitors, but you never understood. Because the field interaction creates that environment. You know, when you go for a night walk, you don't see anything. But just by accident, you bought yourself a night vision glasses. Now it's a different world, isn't it? It's the same with the new technology. You need plasma vision that you can see what's inside.
But first we need to understand what we created, what we want to create.
You don't know what you created. You don't have an alphabet of the God knows technology on this planet. How do you want to have the full alphabet of the universe? The man from the Mars comes and goes, you don't see it because you don't have the field of it. We have to understand this is what mankind is facing with this development. This is part of the development of the technology. You have to understand how I'm teaching and I'm developing the science. This is part of very softly bringing you in. I sat and watched, and I have a camera which continuously watches the operation of the Chinese system. Even if I'm in bed, it's there, it's running. And I see things because I see the condition. But our team are not that only interested if the thing is going to fly. As long as you want it to fly, it will not fly because you don't create a condition for it. What is the condition to be? We said, as I said, the umbrella, I was explaining what happened to us in the first test when we lost it. We lost all our fields and we damaged our system. It's very much, I was explaining to our scientists in Malta last weekend when I was there with them. And I said, it's like an umbrella. What it is you have an umbrella, holding it very tight, walking in the wind. And it's holding. And you are holding to it with your life that it doesn't do. This is our reactor. We built it. It's pressurizing. You create a sudden surge, that what happens is like a wind goes under the umbrella flaps open, and the whole thing goes, and the umbrella is upside down. All the energy which was pushing from inside has bent it over and released. This is what happened to us in the space flight 2-3 weeks ago. We created so much field force that once the plasmatic field above our atmosphere reached a point, our umbrella opened up. We lost everything. And with that rush of losing, most of the reactors had to be dismantled and more or less put back together again. And because we created such a condition, trying to get it back in order is gone. It's just a matter of repairs, conversion, and trying to see what we can salvage from the system till we get umbrella back together again. It's taken 3 weeks, but now we are holding. But in that atmospheric condition, which we are holding the umbrella down, which is the dynamic field pressures of it, is creating a conditioned environment that can fit any creature of the universe. It's not just a field for me, it's a plasmatic field. As our colleague said to us very recently in one of the field trials, we have a problem. And the problem is, since we start testing this material in the field, we never seen so many birds are all coming for food. Because we have changed the whole environment. It's not anymore I water a plant and that's it. We change the condition of environment. And if that field can bring so many birds to be fed, can you imagine what it does in the space of the universe? Where do the birds see this, that they come? It's a complaint we have, even in the discussions about past 2-3 days we had. Yeah, it's good, but we are feeding the birds. I said, you know what you got to do? You increase the harvest by double, you give 10% to birds. That's the balance of the universe. If you agree to keep the 100%, you can't have, you lose. It's not that you lose the matter, you lost the energy. How to protect it is already, so let it go. Why do you spend so much money on it to protect it? You already know. The amount of money you spend, €10 to protect 50, what do you call it, €5 is loss. This is why in the olden days the farmers left piece of land after harvest for the nature. They understood man has forgotten the balance. Many of you, even if you are in neighborhood and another friend 10 kilometers, 5 kilometers away is running the same thing, trying to beat you into the space race that he flies first, and you are doing the same thing, and you both of you bought the same copper plate from the same shop, or by accident it came from the same mine, landed up in the middle of New Jersey or whatever, and another friend 10 kilometers down, you create a field in between, maybe halfway between the two, that creates a condition for the presence of a creature. And somebody passing, oh, somebody passed, have you seen it? There was somebody on the road, something was moving. But did it come on its own, or the interaction of the fields you created? 100% the interaction of the fields you created. Or they create that condition for themselves to manifest. We have to mature. And part of the teaching, part of the conversion, part of the knowledge is understanding the creation of the environment. Not only for this planet, but now that we're going dynamic, remember, as I said 3-4 times today, your space reactors. In the original teaching, Arman can tell you, we call it the free plasma point, where the build of the base and the top come together. You remember, Arman?
Yes.
So that free plasma condition can be conditioned for manifestation of the man from planet Zeus, with a child in his hand and his dog. What do? You stand there and watch it? Or you switch it off, it falls on the ground? No. You create, you reduce, you diminish the size, it goes somewhere else to him because it carries through his soul, not through his physicality. It's time to understand, and as part of what is becoming the joining of universal community, that man understands we are on that phase. We have to start building a home for the passengers of the universe by understanding to creating the condition, not to imprisoning the way what we've done to the fish, to the dog and the birds. Because you have to remember, this time this animal has the intelligence of the soul. So when you start putting these things together, when you start putting these dynamic systems together, when you start making conditions, say, oh, in this patch I was making gold and the other one was there, have a look what is sitting behind it, what stands behind it. Creative condition of existence is cornerstone of manifestation of creation in the universe. And if you don't learn it, you cannot manifest yourself, and you cannot manifest those who you want to guest. It's very much as I said, we manifest our love to the President of the United States as a love of nation of Iran. We don't tell him to come here, we show you. We say, you come here, we give you the love of a nation. And this is how it should be. We got to understand, we from now on, is not just making answers, is what conditions we create, that what it leads to. If you create the right condition, you can create the liver and kidney which was missing, as we said last time. As it can do that, and you've seen it, it can be done many things. Now you have to understand, if the kidney had that condition and the position, if I make the salt of the existence of the planet Zeus, I'll have guests from there. What am I going to give them? Fish and chips? This is where the knowledge comes in. This is where the extension of the knowledge comes in. And this is what we got to learn. Because I brought you to the point of seeing it, making it, and if you have the wisdom and the knowledge of seeing it, and in the future you start making these plasma vision glasses, now you see creatures. How are you going to speak to them? You can see, I have already brought the universal community to your homes. You do not have the sense and the vision to see them. You created it, not us. It doesn't need to be dynamic. If you put a glass of magnesium in one place and something somewhere else, and in between the glass in one side of the room and the God knows the jar of whatever on the bottom cupboard and the other one on the top of the roof for testing, creates a condition that gives rise to manifestation of the entity which feel the strength of it is that environment, you will see. You haven't seen ghosts anymore. Now the knowledge brings us the friends from the universe. And in time, when man matures, we'll understand more. We got to listen, we got to see. As I said, I carried this for past few weeks with me when I used to sit in front of the Chinese space center. And many times, and I looked at 3-4 people running, I said, they don't see, do they? They are looking to fly. I'm looking to see what conditions I'm creating with the matters on this planet, and leads to manifestation of one members of the universal community. I'm not making a zoo. I'm adding to the knowledge that in the future, when I explain to you what comes, what's been, and what you get. The team in China are looking to fly, but the time is not right yet. Because you have to learn when you fly what you're going to do with your visitors. Feel the presence. Feel, understand what you create. You don't see them. How do you want to fly? And you're going to bump into them? You're going to kill them? Or you're going to create a field that it takes their soul? We are at the, not even the nursery of the knowledge of the universe. And we cannot create damages. But when you sit, especially as I said, there is altogether something like 300 plus cores running in these systems. They create a combination of fields. And our team is just wishing to fly. It would not happen, not yet, because you haven't seen what you're creating. It's no use running a car when you're hammering at 200 people standing on the queue in the bus stop. You are creating environment. What happens if you put an empty jar in that glass which is right in front of you, and dynamically as you're creating the field, you see something and you call it a genie? Or is it the way, if you understand this process, you create a condition of transmutation? If you make this jar big enough that it can carry the size of the body of the man, or small enough that carries the strength of the soul of the man, you can manifest the man. But you don't see it, because the knowledge of the man is not that point. How do you think we travel in the depth of the universe? Back to Future car? No way. Understanding the transmutation of the plasma? Yes, that's the only way. And many of you creating it. Now you're running into problem. Not us, you are running into problem as a human race. Now you start seeing too many genies and you see too many what you call ghosts, but there is no ghost. You create a condition. It's like you walk in the dark and you got a torch. You don't see. When you turn a torch, somebody's standing in front of you, because now you have the light to shine on them. The creation of the dynamic environment is that light that it shines on the presence of the entity. And you got to learn. And man, with where we're taking you to, has no choice. You have no choice. You thought I'm going to bring you a spaceship and put on top. You have to make the condition that when the spaceship, when you invite those who can be manifested, you have a place to host them. And you can control it, that you can host them. They do the same with you. If you think you travel the depth of the universe in the body of the man, as I said, you're quite welcome. It means you have not understood the scent of the teaching. You create conditions, understand what you create. I looked and I literally looked as the new medical systems which are getting developed, dynamics, and I said, my God, these guys don't even understand what they're hitting at. And now what they want to do, they want to fill it in with neutrons. By God, you understand what you're doing, because while you're putting it together, somebody must be sitting in there that you were not expecting. What are you going to do? Beam me up, Scotty? The test which is getting done in China is not expectation of understanding, it's understanding the field strength, and gradually the team understands, seeing what they see. They tell them, you're crazy, you're seeing this. No, you create the condition, you have to educate people. I was watching for a few seconds, maybe 10, 15 minutes on camera, and I could see things, and I thought, this guy's standing there and one sitting and not even see what I see, and I'm seeing on camera directly. They don't come and move a chair for you to say they exist. Because in their dimension of physicality, chair has no tangibility. It's like you're putting your hand through fresh air. With tests like this, you put, people want to make dynamic system, put 10 of these mixes together with different mixtures and you see what you create. You don't need to have a space lab and God knows CERNs and to speed up the electrons and whatever, accelerators. These are your best accelerators. These are best systems you can create to create condition of what you call existence. Man will learn very soon. And don't expect all the heights to be midget because you put them in there. You got to understand we're entering a new phase of teaching, a new phase of understanding the totality. This is part of the reality which you have to accept. That if you're running a star formation and you wake up in the afternoon and says, oh darling, there is somebody in the basement. Of course it is, but it's not from this planet, is it? I told you to switch the machine off. You should have done that. But it's somebody from planet Zeus hanging around. You create a condition, he came to have a look. But he doesn't have an eye. You see a face, you see a mirage of the image. Because he sees through his soul. Don't expect to see people with eyes and noses and everything else just because it suits you, you have one. This is part of understanding this. We have to, and I have to bring it so fast forward. That mankind has to mature to it. This is part of the process we have to. This is part of understanding, and we have no choice because now we set our systems to meet. Now we have no choice. Switch off your dynamic systems, switch off your maglev systems, and don't ever switch them on. Because in a way, I have headed you that way. I'm a very clever guy. You haven't walked into the trap. You walked out in the knowledge of creation, and you have to educate yourself very fast. And one of the reasons we use neutron partially is the food of universe. So you always have something to give, to confirm and to be able to sustain life. It's part of the process. You came here today, now you see you become a host. What are you going to give your guests? In Iran, we are offering the gift of life. I wonder what Arizona has seen up to now, never seen before. Because they were looking so amused by to see where the field goes, they don't remember and they haven't seen they made a pool of life. It's a very interesting when you sit in front of the Chinese system. And I can't say because they don't see. What I see, I know what is there and what is to do.
Can I cut in for just a second, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, you can, Mr. John.
So it's interesting that you brought that up because the other day, well, let me just say from my standpoint and some of the people that are in the factory, there's a palpable change in let me say peacefulness factor. It's like at times I'm almost overwhelmed with a peacefulness within my own body, and I know it's from being within the fields that are going on at the factory. But the other day we had a gentleman who's a friend of the foundation come into our facility, and he's what I call an energy sensitive person, in that he sees energy fields. And when he came into the environment, it was in a way it almost took his breath away, because he noticed a dramatic change in his environment by being within the fields. And he stood in front of the fields for a while, and he said that he saw like sparks of light coming from certain sections, and he started paying attention to it more and more. And he said that, you know, they're definitely there, but they're scattered. When we ran the balls around we turned on the ceramic balls going around, and he said that what happened when we did that was that the fields got more coherent in that they seemed to be more imbalanced. So that's some of the things that are going on. You know, just being in the GANs, you know, it's definitely a different environment. Anybody who comes around says the same thing. Even, you know, somebody delivering a package or whatever says, you know, what's going on in here, you know, because they notice something different.
You see, you are in an advantage point of research because, as I said, you have made a launch pad with your maglev systems, which is fixed. It's not dynamic, but the interaction of the fields of fixed base with your dynamic base, what do you call it, 3 base reactors on the top, creates a constant field strength. If you change some of your ganses in your cores, or you might change something in one of the base launch pad bases, or call it your 18 reactors, you might create a condition that in that position you see things. You create a condition that there is a manifestation. We always say, as I've said many times, from here to the moon, we think there is nothing, it's just empty space. By God, it's full. Nowhere in the universe there is an empty space of fields. And how do they react? How do they interact?
Let me play this short. It's just a 23-second video, and I'll pull it off the screen of our.
We got to ask Armand to stop sharing.
Oh, this is
Mr. Armand Golan.
No, this is mine.
This is yours. Ah, okay.
A lot of things that Armin had mentioned, I believe, are correct in that when we mix up the GANs, what I believe happens is we energize it. So if we took, like, for example, our CO2 and put it in this blender before we put that water into the lake, if you will, by putting it through the blender, I believe it would carry a lot more energy.
My God, since when did you wake up, John?
Okay.
Go back to last year, we spoke about the pepper, you can do it. This is what we thought a year ago.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get at for the people dealing with the health stuff is that they can improve the energy within the health devices by putting it through this type of process also. So that Armin is offering is correct. We're going to actually take some of our GANS material that we had in our reactors, we're going to homogenize it, and we're going to put it back into the reactors and seeing if that's enough to boost this up a little bit. But one more thing I want to just get into, and that is this idea of the frequency of the human being. You know, for a lot of times, you know, our frequencies have been dumbed down by the foods that we eat and the meats and stuff that we consume. And we've kind of done it unknowingly to ourselves, while all of the elites, if you will, would deal with you know, what they're called the monoatomics, and they used to drink and eat the monoatomics to elevate their souls. I believe that some of the GAN's waters now can kind of help us elevate the soul so that the soul can actually become the vessel that will allow us to see these beings and interact and contain the fields of the spaceships that we're creating. So I know that that's out there, and perhaps time is getting close where we can open up that umbrella. With that said, let me just shoot off this quick 23-second video of what we're doing in Arizona. We're here in Arizona, and we're blending up a tritium carbon crystal milkshake. Okay, how do you turn it off? How did you turn it off? That's it.
Hello.
Yeah,
What are we supposed to see in that?
so that was energized tritium, H3.
What does it do? What did it do?
Well, that's what we're going to be putting in our reactors.
You see, the Chinese space test, they took the neutron, if I remember, or hydrogen. No, they took neutron, and they left it in the sun. I think for a day or whatever, and to energize it. And it changed color, if I remember correctly. I have a picture of it somewhere. And so you don't need to blend it. If you can put it directly to absorb the plasmatic field of the universe, it's much easier because it's made to that. Here you extend the physical, mechanical side or matter side of it, where there you strengthen the plasma side of it. And this is what we said. You can, if you know what you're doing or you understand it, when you put a hydrogen and you add energy to it in the right way, or you put a neutron, it will end up to be tritium, and it changes to the color of tritium. If you don't understand it, you can blend it, you'll get there faster, some of it. But some of it, if you can understand the process of it, converts into a carbon, and you can get a crystal from it.
So we also tried the drying in the sun. As a matter of fact, all of our dried GANs is from the sun, and you know, whether it's a salt.
What happened? No, John. Let me explain it. I think I didn't explain it the right way. You put your GANs in a sealed ball. It cannot dry. It can only transmute. Bahá'u'lláh said, that's his name. The maturity of the man comes when he understands the process of transmutation of elements. We pass that because man is so mature now, understands the transmutation of field of the universe. So, if you dry it in open space of matter, yes. But what about what the Chinese did? They sealed the ball and they let it to increase the energy. Arman can tell you what you're talking about. What if you go back to the Iranian nuclear reactor, space one, the energy reactor we made in Italy, coming from Bruges in Belgium, they all have wings on it like ear. What for, you think? exactly what you are doing. Mixing it,
Yes,
homogenizing the
that's
field.
right.
You remember, Armand?
Yes,
So why do you think now you come to it? You're showing it in a different form.
correct.
That all the
No,
time.
Mr. Keshe, we done this even 2 years ago. Even I have a bowl which has a mixer in it. If you want, I
Yep,
can show it to you.
I know. I remember. Now you know how what you need to mix.
Yeah.
This is in a way part of what is missing in the Chinese reactor design.
If you can see.
You have archives of things in there, Armand.
Yeah, I brought it with me.
Oh, there it is. That's the mixer. Yep.
Even you can rotate the bowl separately and the mixer separately. So you'll fill up from here, close it, seal it, and you can rotate it in high speed.
You took it to Mexico with you.
Yeah. I brought everything, Mr. Kish.
Even the dogs.
No, I have another dog in here, which guards me right in front of it. Here. He's laying down.
This is the process that now we understand how to use it. The knowledge has been sitting there. If you have that mixer, especially like in the Chinese space reactors, flight is imminent. Homogeneous structure is imminent.
It has a wings. This is
Yeah.
nano-technology again, and it has a wings.
You remember I told you there are a couple of faults with the space reactor, but it's part of the learning. It has to be there. If you make multi-cores, just give an edge that it has a wing on every one.
Yeah.
Every layer will create its own homogeneous field. Space flight is imminent. If you look at the Iranian space reactor, especially the one they flew, I deliberately made that kind of what do you call it, expansion on the body. You've seen it. You remember if you've seen it, there were nano-material glued on top of it inside. That are the wings. We're coming to the point. We're coming to the point of understanding. Understanding more of what we knew. Hello, Armanjan. I can see you. And this is part of the process of, what do you call it? Evolution of the knowledge. He's trying to get it going. I can see.
It works.
Of course it works. Armand Golan made it. Now you can fly it. If you understand what you got in there, Armand, you can fly that machine.
Slowly but surely.
You have something called a neutron there. Choose a neutron from tritium and choose a neutron from hydrogen, base bound. Mix them in that mixer, you have two different type of hydrogen, neutrons. You got to realize the neutron which comes from the work of the tritium and deuterium is different than the neutron which comes from hydrogen and deuterium, even though they're both neutrons. And if you can get a right ratio of the two in the ball, and if yourself understand there is a third neutron which can be brought in at a higher order of magnitude, you don't need the walls of the reactor to be built and have separate. The neutron energy balance will create gravitational magnetic field of the universe. then the use of the tree gives you the dimension of reality of the existence within one reactor. Very, very old spaceships were built this way. And they're very safe. You see, even the dog says yes. So this is the understanding of the knowledge. Why these reactors are safe? Because if you get the ratio balance, it's like your top, middle, and third layer of the skin, they will exist. You cannot diminish them. Because it's dynamic, they transfer energy between one and the other, and the ratio balance just moves. The deuterium in time will become the tritium, and the tritium moves back into the bottom to become the hydrogen. Because they give the energy to take their energy. So you have a dynamic system by just the deuterium, because this is what I have a problem. I don't have a problem in time when somebody writes a scientific paper about it. Oh, now Mr. So-and-so discovered this, but oh, it was said before there, whatever. So you got to learn, as I said, a very famous expression in Farsi. Whoever has got a mustache is not your uncle. Huh?
We know
So
that.
just because you created the neutron out of between deuterium and tritium or hydrogen, doesn't mean they are the same. If they were the same, they would have taken their position in the other one. So you can use the energy different balance in neutron to create the same dynamic flow. You don't need three elements. This is what you have to extend the knowledge of understanding of the space technology. And if you put three different, one neutron from deuterium, one from tritium, and one comes from even, as I said in the earlier part of the teaching, from a neutron from conversion of between plutonium and uranium, and put it in the other side of the room, that you create the space gap cage, you might find the space gap that it allows you to see into the depth of the universe. You don't need to be there. We make visual manifestation in spaceships this way. As you can manifest the images of entity, you can manifest the same, the visualization of the depth of the universe in presence, zero time. If it's hard for you to understand, what do you think? You just drank the orange in the water? Or was the shape of the orange in part of the structure you eat? Why did you feel the texture? Man, when he understands the time travel, understanding to watch, you can't send the camera to watch and take 20 minutes for the light together and come back. When the knowledge of the man matures, man will create what we call visualization of understanding the depth of the travel in depth of the space through understanding of this process. You have a lot to learn yet.
Mr. Keshe, I have a question. Good morning.
Yes, Dr. Azhar, good morning.
When we use the blender to mix the GANs,
It's not for the filling in the dentistry, definitely.
Mr. Keshe, the body of the man is the GANs as well, is correct?
Of course,
okay,
you have a ton of it.
So if we can create the same condition like a blender for the body, like use something on the body or create a condition that every single cell or atom in the body shakes like that, any disease can disappear in a minute.
Yeah, but you disappear the organs too, huh? You made the milkshake.
No,
where is the ice cream and where is the ice?
No, not like that, Mr. Keshe, not physicality. Vibration in a way is non-physical, is a feeling.
Yes, you see, there's a very big discussion about when it becomes vibration, does the plasma vibrate? And does it only vibrate on a given state of matter existence? The rest of it is dynamic. It's very much, if you look into the center of the core of any planet, is there actually material in it? Or is it a bunch of neutron gases and the rest which are in there created under conversion, creates the rest of the heat and the motion and the heartbeat? I like your plastic boxes, Arman. They're all bought from IKEA by the look of it.
Yes. Mr. Keshe, I have, one thing I want to show it to you. This is 3 different setup, but they all connected together. You remember in the Senzano, when we started to make it GANs, we made it in small boxes. But look at the voltage.
Yeah? What about it?
It's on high.
Yeah? Yeah? What about it?
It goes to 0.
Of course it does, because the energy is plasmatic. Are they nanowires or normal wires?
This is nano connected to not nano. The way we did it in the Senzano, way we started.
Yeah. Listen, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. It's lunchtime.
And it goes to 0 all the time.
Yes, it does. It should do. Because the flow is not in the matter state anymore.
Okay, look this one, Mr. Keshe. I set it up CH3 up here, and these are CO2s. But look, the color, it changed.
Of course, we know that.
But you put the CH3 up. This is CO2. Now it's impossible to
How
add
do
this
you
color.
know that's a CO2?
No, what I set it up zinc and a copper.
Yeah, but this is exactly what I was telling you a few minutes ago, Armanjan. You are not on, it's not that pot anymore. You have another pot. You created another field.
Correct.
That field affects this field. Now you have the guy on the top, and you have the other guy next door.
Yeah, now this one is CH3 too, but look the color. It's all black under.
So that's deuterium.
Deuterium. It's totally separate.
You see, there are some elements you have to understand the totality. Copper has a magnetic field spectrum that part of the middle bottom end of it fits into the spectrum of the iron. But in the nano state, because you nano coated the copper, yeah?
Yes,
now
correct.
you have a galvanized plate, which originally was supposed to create a CH3, but now the coating has gone. And what do you have? You have gravitational magnetic field of the iron strength of the copper in a nano condition field force. And now you have a stripped galvanized plate, which is the iron inside it. What does it give you? GaNs of iron. You have to look at your mesh, and with the mesh you understand what you're creating.
Here, the mesh.
Right. Is the mesh has got any galvanizing left on it, or is it totally
yes, it still has it. If you see here,
all of it,
still
all
white.
of it.
No, the bottom part is gone.
Yeah. So that part now can produce GaNs of iron. As much as it has the 56, 58 bottom range, 60, 62, 59 of iron and copper in respectively. So somewhere the field strength is of the iron, and now you created one iron, the field automatically converts itself into the iron, and you get a bunch of them out there.
Yes, the bottom is too.
Yeah.
They black. The color is totally black. But here, it's still the same.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't have the same condition.
No.
Now you have the field forces from underneath which are pushing up too.
Correct.
So it's not the same environment as the other one.
Correct. That's why the color change, you can see it.
Yeah, you see the uncle is not the same uncle, is it?
No. Mustache, you have a mustache, but... So, this is what I want to show.
Thank you very much, Armanjan. Don't forget my tortillas, huh?
It's there, it's waiting for you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Armanjan. Thanks, John. Oh, there's an animal walking. It's from planet Zeus. It's passing. It's a spider. I can see it.
Yeah.
That was the first life form created by the Keshe Foundation in Mexico, perhaps.
Yes.
Wow.
I have
Caught
here.
it on camera.
I have here.
It's a little camera shy. I see.
This is calcium. I have CO2. I have hydrogen in another side.
You always wanted a lab like this, Harman. Now you got the freedom to run it.
Yes.
So
I am here every night.
Oh, you do a night shift with a dog?
Yeah, dog is protecting me.
I don't think you need protection.
No.
God protected you.
You just feel comfortable to sit in front.
It feels good. They usually go to gas because they take energy. Anything else, or shall we call it a day? Today we taught a lot, but you need to understand it. And you are nearly past 3 hours, more or less. What I request in a way, please go back, download the message to the ambassadors, and as you see, to the leaders. And when you send the message, write in your message, this is a message for your president, please pass forward. Thousands of them has been sent forward. They don't think it just somebody just sent it in. And bombard White House with it. They cannot deny it, is something there. And if you can get it to the press, release it to the press, let them publish it. Anything else, or shall we call it a day?
Well, that's about it. Just a statement from Doug that you were mentioning dogs, and Doug had just written, with the simple evolution of the knowledge, even the dog understands. It's so easy, is another comment. So thank you, Mr. Keshe, for...
At least we brought universal dimension and teaching and understanding and environment into our teaching. And I try to cover this more and more in depth, because as what you call it, the Chinese and the others who are at it are testing, and will see that it's important for them to see that it's not a mirage or something happened or something heard. You have to understand you have entered the dimension of creation of the not only production of materials, but you have entered into the dimension of the universal community. And this needs maturity. And this needs understanding. And the use of it. How are we going to use it? Not only for the benefit of mankind, but the understanding that is a key to a peaceful environment in the universal community. Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. There is one note, please, those of you who support us, we'll try by next week to release the Defense of Keshe Foundation against the government of Belgium. Post it, because if they manage to do what they've done there, we all be quiet by it, to suppress us, and they carry on with what they've done. This is the evidence which has got to be seen by the world courts, by the international community, and is not act against one man, it's an act against humanity, which has caused us to this point. We've seen the people around, they know they're on the verge of being arrested, and the things are in the process. Now the completion of the submission of the evidence was last Monday, is submitted. This week we kept it to the notes for the world peace with the world government. Next week, next Thursday, we release the evidence for you to post it. Raw material, pictures of the king sitting and talking, that it shows the invitation. The evidence has been submitted, and some of it might have been omitted by the lawyers for whatever reason. It'll be there for you to submit. That with this process, We turn the corner that we make a peaceful planet for all of us to exist. Go back to one of the papers which I wrote very, very early on, and it says, the scientists are messages of God, the same as those have been. As we call scientists like Tesla, Pascal, they all brought knowledge in the way to help humanity to better their life. The same as the prophets, what we call messengers of God, that they brought us the way of living. The two value the same. As I said, from now on the two will come together and in one, which means they teach the ethos and the science together. And this is the way we work in the universe. As the messengers of God, we do this way. From now on, it's not that the scientist has become philanthropists. The presence covers both, that it can be understood in totality. In so many ways, we enter a new phase, and that is the phase of peace. And some rough edges has to be cleaned up. Human race is a beautiful race. And all we need to do is give him the ground to show the love of God in the creation of man. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, once again. And I think you've given us some food for thought for the next Knowledge Seekers workshop. And of course, the little job to do of posting and getting out the message on the document that we've been given in the links earlier today. So that should wrap up the 236th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, August 9th, 2018. We look forward to the next Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and there's also the Plasma Reactor Group on Wednesday AM at 7 a.m. Central European Time. As the public teachings, there's also some public teachings of languages during the week. Okay, we'll wrap up for now, and thank you everybody for attending. And I think Flint has a going away package for us here.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.